Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham are up to no good. Stand up against them as the famous outlaws in Sherwood Forest in the adventures of Robin Hood. Thank you for joining us today at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. The Adventures of Robin Hood is a cooperative campaign game for 2 to 4 players. It's designed and illustrated by Michael Menzel and published by KOSMOS. They sent us this copy to review.
Now, we've played through the entire campaign, but we're going to try not to spoil any of the surprises. We'll give a brief overview of how the game plays and share our thoughts about it.
The game comes with a puzzle-like board that's dual-layered, a hardback adventure book, a cloth bag, and a lot of wooden pieces, including several figures for each player.
In the game, each player plays as one of the characters from the Robin Hood stories: Little John, Will Scarlet, Maid Marian, and of course, Robin Hood. Each game is a scenario that takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play.
The first scenario is basically a training mission that walks you through how to play the game.
So it was really hard for me to jump in and not read the rulebook first, but there actually isn't a traditional rulebook. There's this little starter sheet and then an accompanying booklet, and it says that this is not the rulebook. You must not read this booklet before playing the game.
I know it was hard for you, but I'm actually glad we walked through the tutorial.
Yeah, and I would agree that I thought it actually worked pretty well. The adventure book will give the story and specific instructions for setting up the scenario.
A full campaign consists of 7 scenarios. If you lose a scenario, you have to play it again. There's going to be some additional passages to read in the adventure book.
The campaign does have a branching path, so you'd have to play the campaign twice to experience all the scenarios. There are rules for playing individual scenarios again after you finish the campaign. The objectives will be more difficult, but you'll also have access to new items.
The general flow of the game is that you'll draw a disc out of the bag to see whose turn it is or if a dark event happens. When your disc is drawn, the first thing you do is move. You move by placing your walking and running figures down. You have to go around obstacles like rocks and trees.
If you don't use the long running piece when you move, you get to put a white cube in the bag, and you'll need those to pass tests. After you move, you can take one action: examine, defeat, or pass an object to a teammate. If your figure is touching a tile with a question mark, you can examine it. Another player will turn to the indicated page, choose the scenario you're on, and then read the entry.
If your figure touches an enemy, like a guard or noble, you can try to defeat it. You'll draw up to 3 cubes from the bag. If you draw a white one, you defeat the enemy and gain a reward. The game puts a lot of purple cubes in the bag, so you have to balance trying to move across the board quickly by using all your figures and saving your long movement piece so you can add white cubes to the bag.
When a red disc is drawn from the bag, dark events are triggered. The hope in the land will sink. You'll draw a seal from the bag, which flips certain guards and nobles. Guards will capture nearby players that are out in the open, and you'll remove an hourglass. If your hope is at 0, you'll remove an extra hourglass.
Now, losing hourglasses is bad. If you remove the final one, you automatically lose.
Yeah, you play until either you meet the requirements to win the scenario or you run out of hourglasses. And a few scenarios have some other lose conditions too.
When you've pulled all the discs out of the bag, you put them back in. I enjoy that mechanic, pulling the discs out. It adds some mystery to the game. Whose turn's going to be next? When will the bad stuff happen?
At first, I thought it was kind of odd that all of the things are put into the same bag. So you have the cubes, the player discs, the seals, but they all have different shapes and textures, so it's not that hard to tell them apart.
Most of the time. The inset board is really interesting. By flipping certain tiles, it allows different characters and elements to be present for different scenarios, and it's really interactive. What I don't like, though, is all the flipping of the guards and the nobles. I'd like them to just be tokens or something. After playing a bunch of times, we found that the guards and the nobles saw a lot more wear, and their edges were coming up from the constant back and forth.
Concerning the theme, we both enjoy the Robin Hood legend, and the story was immersive and well written, especially as we got further into the campaign and weren't unlocking as many new rules and components.
At one point, there's a split in the story. We went ahead and played both branches. Initially, they appeared similar, but the story definitely diverged and then came back together for the final adventure.
Yeah, we enjoyed both branches.
Yes.
They presented different challenges.
There was a surprise in the last adventure. I don't want to spoil anything, but I really, really loved the ending.
So a lot of the adventures had some mystery or deduction elements where you had to figure out who to talk to or where to go to find necessary items.
I was definitely more interested in the adventure than following all the rules exactly. Using the figures for movement can get a little fiddly. Sometimes I fudged a little, just going ahead and examining a tile if my character was super close to touching it.
Now, I did try to make sure that he didn't fudge too much.
Hey, it's a cooperative adventure.
We played a few of the scenarios with 4 players, but most of them with just the 2 of us. We did control 2 characters each, though, so it was like playing with 4 players.
We wanted to be able to experience all the different characters because you eventually unlock specific player powers, and it was nice to be able to spread out during some of the scenarios.
Definitely. The difficulty level is scaled by player count, so we were putting more purple cubes in the bag by playing with 4 characters. And even though you can control multiple characters, the game isn't really suited for just one player because someone else is supposed to read the entries in the book, because some of those entries give you a choice to make, and you're not supposed to know the result before making the decision.
There aren't too many games out there where the designer is also the illustrator, but Michael Menzel did a superb job immersing you in the story through the illustrations and drawings. Melissa and I are bibliophiles and just love the book in Robin Hood. It fits well into the game as you are reading the different excerpts of the adventure.
For several of the scenarios, the bard setup was missing for the 4-player count game, so I just added one more than the 3-player level. So Kevin, this game was a nominee for the Spiel des
It was,
Jahres.
yes.
And it was on your list
Oh,
for
you remember
most
that.
anticipated games of 2021.
Yeah, you can definitely find the link to that video right up there.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yes, I love adventure games, and it definitely lived up to my expectations. Now, I knew there was a story involved, and I'm happy that the story was really well incorporated into the gameplay. The mechanics were also integrated well, too.
I agree. I enjoyed playing through the scenarios. We played on easy mode because we were a little bit more interested in playing through the story than having a challenging experience.
Sure.
So you can adjust the difficulty level to match the type of experience you want to have.
Yeah, satisfying experience overall in this game. So if you enjoy games like Journeys to Middle-earth or Mansions of Madness, I think you're going to like The Adventures of Robin Hood, even though it uses a book instead of an app.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend it if you like the Robin Hood theme.
We are both fans of the animated Robin Hood.
And of course, Prince of Thieves, that was pretty great. And you can't really forget the Men in Tights.
Tights. So tell us in the comments, what's your favorite Robin Hood movie or show?
Now the objectives will be more difficult, but you'll also
You can just do the objectives.
concerning the theme, we both really enjoy the Robin Hood legend. I think that might be
That's fine.
live.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't ready for that.
I'd definitely B-roll there.